Hello and welcome to Frank's School. Well, I'm trying still with my lighting and equipment. We'll see how I do today. My helper's here. 50th day of the fourth year, the story of English. I'm going on. I decided to stop short of the very end today. That way tomorrow there won't be that much left to see. A correction, Barbadian. I spelled that wrong in my own system. Barbadian, that should be a Y. When I jump around like that, I can get mixed up. Well, you're gonna at this point, if you start the fifth minute, 41st second, it comes to Britain with the story of English, Caribbean English or Caribbean. The island of Trinidad will be mentioned. The man, I can't think of his name right now, but he, the black man, he keeps using the word proper. We're going to spell it properly with proper. He keeps saying that, and I don't like hearing that too much because I've seen how the Victorians, the way they were about proper. But you see, he's wanting to standardize. He's a publisher, and he's talking about their variety of English as a written. How do you write it? Well, that's a whole different matter. How are you going to standardize the spelling? It's quite an issue. I'm thinking a little of when I developed my spelling system, which took a long time and a lot of study. One of the reasons I did that, and I wrote an long essay on it, which I may eventually put into the course. I got annoyed at the apostrophe. Like if I said makin', hay, you were supposed to spell it like that. The apostrophe showed that the G wasn't there, making hay, but we never said making hay. It wasn't an omission. And so I finally just, after quite a lot of study, making is the way is what we say. But anyway, I was reminded of that because I wanted to have a spelling system that I wasn't trying to invent it every single time I came up against a word. I had my own system, and I think that's what he's wanting there. Not sure. You'll see Carnival in London, but it's really the Carnival of Jamaica. Carnival is that festival in late February, right before Lent begins. And he stresses that Jamaica seems to be the more dominant influence on young people, he says, and it's probably true, of the various islands. London's complex population comes as a surprise sometimes to people. It did to me. I think not the first time, but eventually when I went to London with students, I was impressed upon the fact that London, you think of it as how you imagine somebody who's English. Well, in London it is a very, very complex population because of the legacy of the empire. And you'll see some of that. You'll also see footage of the street riots of the 1980s. That might be worth some explaining or some discussion if you wanted to in a class. Then those two Pakistani girls, they really have no Pakistani accent, which is of interest. That could happen, but then their dad's the mayor. He also explains that to them, they don't have to worry so much about having a nation language because Punjabi is their native language, as opposed to, say, in the Caribbean where the native languages got all mixed up. There isn't a single native language, and so there's that desire to get a nation language. Well, they've got one already, really, or they've got their identity set with that. Then he jumps to India. And a lot of this is amazing to hear and to see the figures. But I won't repeat them. I will say that there's 15 national languages in India, meaning a language that you could use anywhere in the nation. In Switzerland, there's 4. And that's a bit of a surprise because the fourth one, Romanish, very, very few people in Switzerland speak Romanish. But it says something about the tolerance of a government that you could have more than one official language. is so different from the United States, for example. Bengali is the language of the area where the journalists are. And then there's a man that gives these amazing statistics about how English is the #1 foreign language by far in the world. Foreign language. I've heard it once said it's everybody's second language. But then, you know, like in the United States, so few people have a second language. They've only got one. But if you have a second language, well, in the world, English is by far #1. Kate Flowers is mentioned with her television show Follow Me. I may research that a little bit, know more about her and that effect. Mandarin Chinese, there's actually, I think, I should know this, but I think Mandarin Chinese is the most widely spoken first language in the world, I think, even more so than English, I believe, I'm quite sure. And more so even than Spanish. I think English is third for first language. And then the man is explaining that in India, people will go there to learn English. I love this because it's a non-aligned variety of English. It's not American English. It's not British English. It's not Australian English. Or Canadian. It's non-aligned, in effect. I don't know if that's still so true, but I know what he's getting at there. Well, I'll ask you to stop at this point in the 6th of 7 parts. That will leave us with very easily tomorrow we'll get to the end of this fairly long process of studying the story of English. So hope to see you tomorrow.